Good morning, guys. How are we all? Hope we're all doing well and feeling more recovered now. We've eaten after eating too much and drinking too much over Christmas. Where are we today? We are on Friday the 28th of December 2018, and this is the one you've all been waiting for. This is the final part of the build on the Lanchester Armoured car. So we can see here we've got the main car done with toolboxes attached now, obviously front fenders on. Remember, I put the lights on and they've got the masking tape inside them. Put these little plates in the back, the photo etch parts in here. They were a bit of a nightmare to fit. This whole rear end for me has been a bit of a nightmare, and I must be honest, I think it's my fault. I've messed something up. Something hasn't fitted right. I tried to change the assembly procedure from the instructions and made a big mistake, and I ended up with these toolboxes having like an angled up sort of look to them. I didn't like it, so I had to cut it all off and start again, and because of that I've had to trim down this photo etch and everything. So but when the wheels are on, it all looks absolutely fine now, whereas before when I had the wheels on, I had this definite sort of drag racer look to it. So so that's been dealt with. Got the shield on the front now and the starter handle. Didn't put those on before because I thought they'd probably get broken off. So that is that. That's for the main car. Added this is lovely. There's on the back of this is the armoured shield that goes over the top of the windscreen, and you get on the photo etch set, you get this piece here, and that hole is what you use to position the stay. And as you can see there, the stay has got a like a serrated edge to it, so that when you actually put it on, that serrated edge sits in a hole in the windscreen and keeps it open. So yeah, it's really nice, isn't it? I mean, I just imagine if you pinned all that, it would actually work. But yeah, there you go. That's lovely. Shame there's no interior detail, because if you look in there, you're going to see nothing. So I'm going to have this sort of halfway down, so you can't really look in there unless you really try. I won't be putting this in any shows anyway. So obviously wheels and tyres are done there, and we've got the wheel centres that hold them on. These are very nice. Where are my tweezers? These little these are the little plates that hold the spare wheels on the sides here, on these pins here. And yeah, you can see you get these little photo etch wig nuts that go on there. What I did, I took off the plastic detail, and then I spotted a 1mm hole in there and then glued it in, so it's quite rigid and held in place. But yeah, very nice. So basically that's that. I've now got to start thinking about priming it. I've got to mask up the wood and get some primer on there. I think I'm going to go for like a dark grey primer and then leave that as the tyre colour, because although I don't think the tyres would be the sort of light pale stony colour that the Model T ambulance has, I don't think they were actually black. So I'm going to leave them like a very dark grey. I don't think I'm going to go for tyre black. I think I'll go for something a bit darker than German grey. And yeah, so there we go. So I'll get this primed up now. I'm going to put some etch primer on here first on these fenders, and then get the wood masked up and then go from there. Overall, very, very pleased with this kit. It is gorgeous. It goes together a dream. As I say, I had problems with the rear end, and I think they're all down to my fault, really. And also, if you remember, I didn't glue any mountings in the suspension. Well, I still haven't glued any mountings in the suspension. You don't need to. You can leave it all floppy, and then if you want to pose it on a diorama, you can. You can see the rear end still moves there. So yeah, I haven't had to glue any of that at all. So there we go. That is the Copper State Models 135th scale World War I armoured car Lanchester, and it is a little beauty. So see you back in a minute once we've got it all primed up. Right, so here's the moment you've all been waiting for, I know. We've got some paint on, and what I've done here, I've masked off the wood. It's primed with Tamiya XF53, is it? Which is like a dark grey. Yeah, XF53 neutral grey. Mixed heavily with Guns levelling thinners. I always like to use that as a primer because Tamiya paint goes down lovely with Mr. levelling thinners. It dries to a lovely matte finish, which is what you need to show you any imperfections you've got. And then you've got the extra levelling thinners, which bonds really well to the plastic. All the metal parts like these fenders and stuff have had Guns metal primer on them, which is I don't know if you guys have seen this. It's this stuff here. It absolutely stinks. I think it'd kill you. It's lethal. But it's quite good. It's not as good as a proper etch primer, but you know, for models we're not handling them and stuff, and they haven't got to put up with any weather, and so it's fine for this. It just makes it a bit more resilient, so it doesn't just rub off. And of course you can always key it first with some you know, with some very fine emery. And then what I've done, you can see I've taken some artistic license here, and I've highlighted it in flat black, and I've basically gone over all the areas where there's any rivets or any lines or edges or shadows and anything. So that's yeah, that's pre-shaded with black. And then I've then gone over with a mixture of a very light grey, which is this one, XF12, it's just the first one I picked up, and that is like literally dirty thinners, so 10% paint, 90% thinners, and I've just gone over in between the panels, so highlighted that areas. And remember, this is how I work, very garish to start and then bring it back. This is what I like to do. I'll take the tape off of there now, and I will get some hairspray on there before I start to paint it. And then what I can do then is once the paint is on there, then I can rub some of it off. I'm not going to go to town on the weathering on this. I don't want to sort of rip it all up. I want to have it, you know, I'll have a wash. I may even give it a German filter, which is like a blue colour. This is going to be one of these two here. I may mind it yet, but it's going to be one of these two. Probably this one. And yeah, they're both in a sort of very light grey colour, which is XF25, is it? Yeah, XF25, which is a light sea grey. I think I'll look through the rest of my paints and see if I can find something. And the thing is, I don't think anybody really knows what colour these things were, to be honest with you. You know, they know what colour they were, but I don't think anybody actually knows what the correct Tamiya or Guns or whatever, you know, paint is. And the thing is, it's going to be, you know, it's World War One. The paint wouldn't have been a particularly high quality. It wouldn't have been a controlled mix. Yeah, it wouldn't have been like an RAL colour is today. That is a pretty good match. So, you know, you probably find that vehicle to vehicle the paint changed, the paint colour changed. So there we go, the wood underneath and the wood on top, that's unmasked now. So yeah, it looks better already, didn't it? Done the turret as well with the same method, post shading, pre-shading, whatever you call it. And then the wheels, they're done as well. The tyres are painted with NATO black and then given a wash of black. And then this, I've just picked the centres out with the light grey. Again, they've had this grey primer on them, and I've just picked the centres out with light grey, just so that when I paint the actual spokes themselves, it kind of just makes the hubs pop a little bit. I'll make up some mask for them now. What I do is I use my my compass cutter, which is this tool here. I cut some masking tape. I generally go slightly bigger and then slice one side and then tape it on, and then one end overlap, rather than try and get an absolute perfect size. So that's the way I'll do that. There's 8 wheels, I believe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, there's 8 wheels to do. So you got 2 wheels or 4 wheels on the back, 2 wheels on the front, and then 2 spares. So they're more to do. We've still got the unditching boards here. I've got my little bucket there, which I believe would have been galvanized. So I'll probably paint that with aluminium and then dry brush it with matte white or something. See how that looks, or maybe give it a wash with the flory white wash. We'll see, just trying to get that galvanized look to it, and then perhaps I might just put something in the bottom to make it look like it's got some water in it or something. We'll see. And yeah, so there we are, guys. So that's that. I'm ready for paint now, so I'll give that an hour or so, and then I'll put the armoured shield on, wherever that is. Yeah, the armoured shield is over here. That's all been painted as well, so I'll stick that on there, and then get the final colour on. So see you in a minute. Welcome back. So here we are. This is like the third or fourth segment, isn't it? So we've seen that the pre-shading is all done. I've glued the armoured screen cover on now, and just a builder's tip, that little ratchet thing on the inside you can actually get from in here with a stick with some super glue, and you can super glue that in from inside in there. I've put some hairspray on the actual wood. Another thing I've learned, if you brush the hairspray on, it attacks what's ever on there, and I think it's actually given the wood more of a realistic finish. So yeah, that was interesting. I've also done the underside because I'm sad like that. So now we've got to do some spraying. I've made the masks and sprayed one side of the wheels, and now what I need to do is remove the masks and mask at the other side and spray them. So I'll do them after I've done the body. One of my subscribers, one of my more active subscribers, Gary Murphy, was asking what I use. This is my airbrush, and I've got to be careful because it's got a little paint in it. This is a Iwata Revolution BR, and I think it's got a 0.3 needle. I never really worry too much about needle size and stuff. I mean, this thing, they say that, you know, people always try and airbrush out by things like this. They see how small they can go, you know, what sort of a fine line you can get. So yeah, there we go. Look, this brush has been still, it doesn't need clearing out, but there we go. So there we go. Yeah. So I've got this in here. I've got Tamiya XF25. Yeah, and it doesn't want to come out. And I've got it thinned with AK high compatibility thinners. So let's see, probably get better now. There we go. So people always talk about what fine line you can get. Well, if you want a line finer than that, then you should be using a pen. This paint doesn't seem to want to come through, actually. It's a bit weird. Very strange. Let me give a good blast through. Like I had some paint stuck in the nozzle or something. There you can see we can get this, even from a distance you can still get a very fine little pattern. But this is, it's not really representative because this is actually about 60-70% thinners, 30% paint. So yeah, so I'm just gonna basically fog the paint on lightly. I would normally be doing this in my booth, which is just to my right, and that's another question Gary asked, what sort of booth do I use? It's just one of those cheap ones that you get, what, 100 quid or something, with the little motor in the back. I don't use any 2-packs or anything indoors, like if I'm using that, I go outdoors. Look at that, I very rarely airbrush on camera, in fact if ever. And I'm now getting troubles with the airbrush. So you just fog that on, just enough to show What you don't want to do is cover up the effects that you did before. You want to make sure that you can still see some of those effects coming through. So there we go, we can see there, we've got the light grey on, but you can see the darker colour and the lighter colour still coming through. And I'll just show you here quickly on the turret. Just go over the top of the turret. This is very, very gently putting the paint on. Just barely making a difference. And then turn it around. Same on the other side. I don't know if you can even see a change there as I'm spraying it on, but there is a change there. And then going for the other side. And I'm currently spraying at about, I don't know, 18-20 psi. Just quickly go back in from this angle again. As you can see, it goes down, it's practically dry when it goes down. And there you can see we've got that's the initial stages of the top of the turret. Now, if you think that's a bit too much, then you can put a bit more paint on. If you think you've gone a bit too far, then you can always do some more shading. But yeah, now I'm going to do these sides here. As I've said so many times before, you know, it's all about going garish. In my opinion, go garish, pull it back. Don't try and get an effect straight away. Go over the top and then bring it back. It's all about what you take off or what you take away, not what you add to it. So you can see there you've got a fairly, you know, it's all really artistic license. It's not realistic because it wouldn't actually be like that, but it's all about artistic license and making it look cold and old. I'm putting the paint on a bit thicker now because I've got a feel for it. And this AK high compatibility thinners, I don't think it's as good as the Mr. Leveling thinners. Well, nothing is, but it's certainly a very good thinner. I think most of them are just like the concoction of water, screen wash, alcohol. I'm sure that's what most of them are. But the funny thing is the AK high compatibility thinners is not compatible with the old AK paint. It's only compatible with their real colours range, which I will say is lovely paint. If you're watching my Humber build, you'll see I'll be using it on that. The real colour is lovely stuff. I'm just going to go around that once more quickly. And this works really well if you're doing like a lighter colour camo, like a desert scheme. So there we go. You can see that we've got the shading coming through. You can see the highlighting. So that's the sort of effect that I'm after. And that's the way, if you want to achieve the same sort of effect, that's the way to do it. Doesn't take a lot of practice. And as you know, with acrylic paint, it's so thin. I mean, everything I've put on here has been 70-80% thinners. So it's so thin, you just you know, start again. If you don't put heavy coats of paint on, then you can always come back, you know. So I'm just going to concentrate on the back end of this now. There we go. You can see there I've painted that grey, but you can still see the just checking my flow. Just laying it on very, very dry. Same on here. I'm going to make sure I come in from all the angles, because nothing worse than spotting a, you know, you get like, you look at it like this and it's great, you look at it like that and it's all black. You need to make sure you get it from all sides. Down inside that cargo bay. You can imagine on a German Eastern front scheme, this would look wonderful. Thin coat of this grey on there. Okay, just a thin coat. I don't want to put too much on there. I don't have to remove too much. And the other thing you might notice is as the paint dries, it starts to show through. If you watch that dry, you can watch it kind of darken. So you put some more on and then watch it darken back again. It's I find it very, very satisfying. To be honest, I'm one of those, some people love to build, some people love to paint. Few people love all of it, but for me it's the building. But when I do finally get the paint out, I do enjoy it. And after all, that's what it's all about. So let's just do these back doors. And if Graham from ISM is watching this, Merry Christmas, mate! Oh dear, I shouldn't have shouted, should I? Started the dog off now. And there we go. I know Graham from ISM. You'll see him on Friday nights on the on Live at the Bench every Friday night. Is it 7 o'clock UK time? You'll see the guys on there larking about, and when they have the proper show on, the bit I enjoy is when Tim does his new kit reviews. I love that. But no, if you don't watch it, Graham is one of the guys, one of the regulars on there, and he's a proper anti-Christmas. He hates Christmas, and not interested at all, and everybody's been taking the mick out of him for ages. It's quite funny. There we go. So I think I'll leave it there and I'll finish it off. And I think you guys get the idea of what it is I'm doing now and how I do it. You know, give it a go. It works really, really well with the, as I said earlier, with the German grey. Your XF63 or whatever, whichever one you choose to use, they're all bloody different. Then yeah, it looks really good with that. We do this effect. As I say, it's not realistic. I mean, aircraft modelers have gone away from pre-shading because they say it's not true to life. Well, you know, it depends how you look at it. You know, having sunken rivets, dots all over the place on an aircraft isn't true to life. Having canopies that are a scale sort of 3 inches thick aren't true to life. We still do it. So it's all about artistic effect. At the end of the day, it's your model. If I wanted to paint this pink, I would. So there you go. That's the sort of look you can get. If you want to just give it an overall sort of filter in, you can come back a bit further to the airbrush. And this is the beauty of having it so thin, is that every layer you put on makes hardly any difference. If this was sort of 20% thinners, then that would be it, grey, covered straight away. It would cover everything. So there you go. That's the kind of look I'm after. And it's got that sort of shadow effect to it, and it looks, in my opinion, looks very, very warm. So you can see we've gone from that, or that, to that. Give it a go. Right, just before I go, we'll do this and we'll call it a day for this one. I'll show you about this masking of wheels. Let's take it off the stick. So I'll take the mask off. You can see what I've done here. I've made we do is make a paper mask which is slightly too large, and then split it down one side. If you try and make it the absolute perfect size, it does work sometimes, but it's much better to do it this way, and then you can just sort of feed it round and get it so that it's, you know, so that it's pretty much right. If you're better off getting a little bit of overspray onto the tyre than having to repaint the rim. What I generally do is if I need a bit more paint on the rim, I dry brush it. If the tyre gets some paint on it, like I have in one area there, you can see, what I'll do, I'll just go around with a black wash, and that'll be gone. And so there we go. So put it back on the stick. Give it a quick coat of the paint. Again, this is Tamiya XF25, and it's mixed about 60-40, 70-30 with AK high compatibility thinners, and it's yeah, it's more thinners than paint. And there we go. So we can do that, and then just take the mask off. Take off the stick. And there you go. You can see there's your wheel and tyre painted. And there we go, guys. There she is. I've just placed the wheels on, as you can see. We've got some centre caps to go on here yet. And there's those little caps to go on there with the, these little ones with the, there they are, with the little wing nuts on them. They're lovely as they are. I've put the unditching board in there, and then we've got the other one over here for the other side. I still haven't painted the bucket yet. I'll do that, and then the bucket will sit in there. I've now got to put some aqua gloss. This is what I use, Alcalad aqua gloss from Hero Boy in Tewkesbury, and I'll just put that in the areas where the decals have got to go. Then I'll let that dry, put the decals on, then give it a matte coat, give it a bit of weathering, probably put a wash around those tyres, and then put the wheels on, and then basically that'll be it done. Once that is done, what I'll do is I'll give you a final reveal. Here's this one's sister. So there we go. That's the two of them there together. So that's about as far as I can come forward. So I can move them back, I guess. Yeah, so there's the two of them there. So let's get that off that lump. There we go, you can see them both there together. And what I'll do is I'll get them both weathered up now. And you can see here the difference. The ambulance hasn't had the pre-shading, and the armoured car has, and yet they're both painted the same colour. So you can see what a difference that makes there. But then I didn't want this to have that cold. I wanted this to look, you know, cold steel. You know what I mean? So anyway, I'll get the gloss on there now, get some decals on, and get this finished. I promise to have this up completely finished with a final reveal on both of them, all weathered up and everything, before midnight on Monday. So that means I'm promising to get them done this year. All right, so that's midnight my time. So anyway, thanks for watching, and hope you enjoyed that, and look back for the final reveal in the next couple of days. Bye for now.